I got you. Hey,
Hey, Steve, how are you?
my guy, what's up?
What a pleasure, man.
You know,
Lost you.
I was just trying to find out. We used to have Daisy Fuentes bags.
You did?
Yeah, I made them.
You made Daisy
I
Fuentes beds?
Bags, handbags.
Oh, bags.
Yeah, and I used to make them. I bought a company that had the license. So I
No
was trying to
shit.
find out whatever happened with it. It was at Kohl's, I think.
It was at Kohl's. She was at Kohl's for 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah, we made it. We made a little money with it. Yeah.
At Ross. Wow.
Yes.
You guys never crossed paths? You never met?
I don't think I ever met her, no.
You'd remember.
Yes, I'm sure I would.
I read a quote from you, which I thought was really interesting, which was, and I'm hoping I'm not paraphrasing too much, but it was, what I recall you saying was, I get turned on by the point where art and commerce intersect.
Yeah. Yes.
Of art and commerce.
Yes.
And
I'm very interested in that. You know, how I've always found it fascinating. I mean, the greatest case of that would be the Beatles.
Right.
Don't you agree? I mean, art and commerce. And
here's the difference. It feels like that was something that was part of your intellectual DNA from the get-go. I don't think that was the case with, I think that a lot of great creators, great artists, the Beatles, Hendrix, that sense probably caught up with them much later. When Paul and John were in Paul's mom's, sitting room writing those songs, they just wanted to fucking make up cool shit. For commerce at that point.
I'm not sure, but certainly, when I was making shoes in the beginning, I just wanted to make shoes for girls that would go out with me.
Oh my God, that's why I started writing songs.
I was like, because I was so lame.
You were just trying to get laid.
That's all I want to do is get laid.
But wait, I want to zero in on this art commerce conversation.
Yeah.
But can we back up a little bit, because
sure, yeah.
You seem to me, and we haven't met, but
right.
in my limited knowledge of you, you seem like a dude. You're a dude.
I'm a dude.
You don't seem to fit into what has sort of become almost a stereotypical fashion person.
Well, because I got my Mickey Rourke look today. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's not just today, Steve. But I wonder.
And I was in prison for a couple of years, so.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about what you carried out.
Yeah. No, but it's an interesting point. I mean, yes, I was always interested in being creative and following, a true, not the easy way out, and trying to do cool stuff.
But that didn't
start. And then the added value of it working is so amazing.
Yeah.
To have something that you think that, in the beginning, I was very true to that sort of aesthetic. As you go on in business, sometimes you tend to, one compromises along the way.
But I'm talking about.
Sure, you know that.
I'm talking about the very beginning when you worked at a shoe store in high school, right? This is how it all started.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You just got a job because you needed to have a job, right?
Yeah.
How did you?
Well, it was that at first I was a caddy.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I got to work in a shoe store. So that was like, my resume was like, he carries golf bags.
Right. But so how long did you have the job in the shoe store before you started to, like, one of the things I can't remember whether it was something I heard you say in an interview or read, but I thought it was really interesting that all of a sudden you became really aware of how women behaved when it came to the shoes, the way that their body language changed, the sensuality of it, and you became sort of like really fascinated with that. How long into the gig? Because at first you're just like, I need a fucking job, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So how
It
far?
was, it was pretty, it was pretty quick. It was, I remember I worked for an interesting guy, and it was kind of a sort of a cutting edge shoe store. And the guy was interesting, and I looked up to him, and the shoes were interesting. And I thought, wow, you know, this guy's like creative and he's making money. And it's like, whoa, this is cool. You know, I always said, you know, people like my dad who like took the railroad, you know, my dad was kind of like Don Draper. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
Sure.
But, you know, and then there was this whole other thing. It was a result of the counterculture, the hippie movement. A lot of the hippies all of a sudden woke up in the early 70s and went into business.
Yeah.
Some of them never came back. Because I don't know about you, but I have an older brother who was a hippie, went to Woodstock and lived on a commune and all that shit.
You're one of 3 boys, right?
Yeah, I'm the youngest in my family. But so these guys, the whole Woodstock vibe. Now I was only 11 when Woodstock happened, but you know, the whole Woodstock vibe. All of a sudden, you got these guys in the 70s who like started opening up boutiques, and you know, and sort of that aesthetic that
started to collide.
What's that?
Really, where fashion and rock and roll sort of started to collide, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would say that's right. But
I mean,
but
more so than
I remember, you know, I was very aware, like, of the movement, you know, the hippie thing, and then all of a sudden it got commercial, you know, and I was very aware of that. Like, I was like, when did that happen? Like, when did that, like, it was a big thing for hippies to be very non-materialistic.
right.
And then all of a sudden that changed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was very interesting. And then I think Bob Dylan finally broke down and did an American Express card commercial.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah. We're talking about back when you were, you know.
yeah, I'm talking about this. So I was in high school in 76,
right,
75, and
a hippie-ish kid.
yeah, I just fell in love with it. I really did.
Yeah. So
and then there was the girl thing. You know, I was a semi dweeb, and like I'm working in a chick shoe store. So
at some
that
point,
was good.
I think you said you worked in the factory. You like, or like did.
Yeah.
Transition me from you're in the actual store. I heard your friends used to call you Al Bundy, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
To being in the factory, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, maybe we put the top of that shoe on the bottom, like, and all of a sudden the thing kicked in.
Yeah. So I worked in a shoe store, and then these young guys who were in the wholesale business took me out of the store because I was a energetic kid, and I used to fool around in the factory, you know, put this up top of that shoe on the bottom of that shoe, just not really knowing, but having a feel for what women wanted. And so I did a lot of different jobs, you know, worked in a factory, you know, worked with a pattern maker, sold shoes.
You started to really learn.
Yeah, I really did everything.
But I'm curious because, like, for instance, yesterday I bought online. I saw an ad for it, and I was like, it's $25. I'm going to get this. I bought it's like a plain white shelf.
Right.
It's on top of a sort of like a power strip, like a mini power strip with plugs.
Yeah.
Like 8 USB, you know, whatever.
Right.
And you plug it into your bathroom, for example. You plug it into the socket, and now you have a bunch of plugs, and you've got USB outlets and a shelf,
Right.
phone, whatever.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. Unlike an invention or something like that that doesn't really exist in the marketplace in that way. I'm really curious as a creative person, how you put one foot in front of the other in an industry where there's a million fucking shoes. There's a million fucking designers. At what point do you not get intimidated by that and instead go, I'm going to bring out something that doesn't exist, or I'm going to bring it just a little bit to catch the public consciousness?
Yes.
Can you remember, like?
Yes, I do. I can tell you about it.
Really
Number one, you know, when you're young, you know, you're fearless. I mean, there's a lot of, you don't have the same stuff that you have when you're older. I didn't have children. I didn't, you know, I was just trying to pay my rent, you know?
Yeah.
And so you try certain things and you have a certain amount of, you know, moxie that you, and just a lack of fear that gets you to try stuff. But usually, I mean, I want to say for me, the big break is usually an accident. It's, you know, it's like, but it's the ability to recognize that, holy shit, I have an opportunity, like a split second later. Like, no one needs to know that this wasn't really what I set out to do.
Right.
You know, but now I'm going for it. So that was the case with me. You know, what it was for me was when I started Steve Madden, I made platforms that went back to my days in the 70s.
Because they really weren't part of the marketplace at that point. Right?
Nobody had them. Nobody knew about them. And it was just kind of an accident, just sort of something to get attention. And it caught on, and I became known as this like sort of, you know, young platform shoes. And, you know, so it was sort of an accident, but, you know, I went with it.
How did you market? How did the brand get marketed in the beginning?
You know, in those days it was, which was like 90, 91, kind of word of mouth through boutiques, you know, and also, you know, people buying the shoes, and our kids, you know, Gen X kids talking to each other and saying, what's cool? You know, I got this shoe, and it sort of spread around. Obviously we didn't have social media.
Right. Just like I get asked so many times, how different do I think that my industry is now with streaming, and, you know, you have every song ever conceived on your phone, right?
Yes, it's amazing.
How night and day different is it from when you started in the shoe business?
Well, I would say that it's probably very similar to your industry. Today, it's all about Instagram and TikTok and all of that, and YouTube. And we didn't have it then, so you had the trades or you had word of mouth. It was completely different.
Well, the other huge difference, you know, lucky you is that you can't sort of steal shoes. You can't sort of just.
But talent is talent, you know.
Load a pair of shoes.
But, you know, talent is talent. It finds its way. True. You know what I mean? I think so.
I guess so. I guess I'm speaking more to the idea that.
Yeah. What?
Whereas people can take my intellectual property or any songwriter or artist's intellectual property and do whatever they want with it and not pay for it and feel totally fine about it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't walk into a store and like put a couple of pairs of your shoes under their arm and walk out the door. That's just.
No, it's different. Yes. I see what you're saying. I think the record business is sorting itself out now, though, isn't it? Sort of, with the streaming.
A little bit. It's going to take some time. And now, you know, and this brings me to, I'm curious as to how this thing is impacting, because you have something like 300 and something stores worldwide, right?
Yeah, last after the pandemic, unfortunately.
Right. So this is impacting.
Unfortunately.
Certainly.
Yeah,
retail stores like massively, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be closing some stores. It's a tough hit. It's a big hit. I mean, we'll be okay because our company is debt free. And, but you know, it's a big hit. We all got a big hit.
Yeah.
It's a big hit.
Yeah. Do you find that, again, because I don't know you, but you strike me as somebody who's like always going, like,
Yeah.
and much like, you know, when I tour all the time, but now I ain't touring.
Right.
Sort of like, oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
what do I do with this time? So is it frustrating for you? Or are you finding other, like you have little kids, right? So
I have young kids. I have two 12-year-old twins and a 7-year-old. You know, actually, I'm having trouble staying motivated because it's quite the opposite. You know, I am a bit of a pit bull, but actually I haven't been.
Yeah.
I'm a lazy motherfucker now.
I totally get it, man. It's really weird. Like
It's weird.
All of us who are guilty of that sort of classic type A thing. After a while, I totally relate to that. Like,
Yeah.
you sort of get lulled into this place of, I mean, especially for those of us who are lucky enough that we don't have to panic.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our financial situation. Certainly not you, but
Well, not you either.
No, but dude, we're talking about, we're in different chapters of the book.
Yeah, but
so you have a book coming out later this year, right?
I have a book that was supposed to be out, but we postponed it because of the plague, and it's coming out. But you know, I wonder if I should write a couple of chapters, but I really haven't done anything that interesting other than wear a mask.
But has this time off made you rethink, like you just said, like maybe because it's called the Cobbler, right? Now I know it's coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd still have time to like sort of muse about other things now. Or is it just sort of like, fuck it, the book's done. I just want to relax.
I am torn. I want to relax, and on the other hand, I want to make great shoes again. And I'm older now, and it's different, man. You know, it's different. It's different when you have money and you're older. I mean, I still want to do the same things, but man, that drive when you're young and broke and just, there's nothing like it. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you'll just do anything.
Yeah.
You'll just do anything. And now we lead comfortable lives. But
yeah, I remember years ago, I had the gift of one of the people who sort of, I wouldn't say he mentored me, but one of the first people that I met who recorded some of my songs, just before I had a record deal or anything, was Kenny Rogers, who we just lost, a few months ago.
Sure, yeah.
And we became friends, and we were friends all these years, 30-something years. And when I met him, this would have been about 1983. So it wasn't the middle of his heyday, but he was still the shit, man. He was
man, he had a few heydays, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did.
Yeah.
But
he was still big in the 80s, man.
Huge. When I met him, he was still huge.
Huge.
Worldwide superstar. And I remember we were sitting around the studio one day, and I started to ask him. I would have been about 19, and I was looking at him as this iconic superstar and all that he'd accomplished in the millions of albums he had sold and the tours around the world. And we got into this conversation, and he said, it's all about the climb, man. It's like, he said, I'm grateful to have had all this success, but he said, once I got to the top, it was way less fun. Like it is all about, and I think that's why I wouldn't say he ever self-sabotaged his career, but he did some things that kind of took him down a few notches, and then he came roaring back 5 years later. And I think that there was something addictive in him about like wanting to climb back up again.
Yeah.
And I really admired that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a great artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved Glenn Campbell too. Did you like Glenn Campbell?
He was one of my heroes.
I loved his music.
Amazing.
Loved him.
Amazing. And a guy that had multiple, bites of the apple over his
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
It's another thing I'm really curious about. When you reach the level of wealth and success that you've experienced, what's the ratio, pleasure to pressure?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think that that's what it is. You know, it becomes more pleasure and less pressure. I think, and you need that pressure to be creative.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, in the old days, we would be in the factory till, 3 a.m. trying to get that line ready. You know, we would do anything to try to create that next hot shoe.
Right.
And it was great. And, eating Chinese food and pizza and working in the factory.
Sure.
And it was great.
Because you're hungry and you've got so much shit.
Yeah. And now I'm like, I'm a little soft, I'm afraid. You get soft. You just do. You have so much.
But why do you say I'm afraid? Why do you think that's a bad thing?
Because you lose that edge, and you just get soft all the way around, and you end up getting bad facelifts or something. like poor Kenny. Kenny Rogers. Did you ever see anything like that in your life?
No, he was so pissed off. I saw.
I mean, I was like, what the fuck?
But I gotta give him credit. Kenny was one of a kind. He went public with it immediately. He was like, "Look what I did to my fucking face."
No, it's an interesting thing. I always think about, and I know you're supposed to be asking the questions,
No,
but I always wanted to be a pop star, and then I thought, well, the advantage that I have is I can go on, much longer than a pop star. I mean, you're a big pop star.
Yeah,
so
but
you know what I'm talking about.
But the life expectancy, the career life expectancy of a pop star is not the same as a mogul.
A cobbler, a mogul. Yes, I have longer, but it's not the intensity that you had. That was quite unbelievable. And,
right.
I guess every kid either wants to be an athlete or a pop star.
Yeah, and that's
Every
why
boy.
I've historically bonded with athletes as well, because there's also a really similar lifestyle. There's this sort of like solitary, even if you're like, you can be part of a band on stage and be your brothers in the band and your teammates, but at the end of when the crowd stops, you're alone. You're going to usually alone, and it's a very solitary experience, which I think bonds us. But I guess what I am curious about, just in terms of what you just said, is why do you think it is that so many of us who, I would imagine that you reached goals that you didn't even ever imagine. You never even conceptualized them. Some of the shit that happened to you, the great shit that happened to you, you couldn't have made it up when you were in high school.
No.
So you've had that incredible gift and experience. I, had my checklist of wish list of checking off, play Madison Square Garden, have a number one, all those things.
Yeah.
Achieve those things. Why is it not enough?
Wow. I mean, that's, well, first of all, it's an inside job, right?
Right.
It's an inside job. That's what we learn. And, actually Walter Yetnikoff, he said, because we were talking about money, and he said, Steve, I promise you this money, because we were talking about, there was some kind of deal. I was going to get $50 million, something like that. And he said, I promise you that money will not make you happy. I remember him saying that. He was a very wise man. He was very smart.
Yeah.
And, it's always that little bit of depression, that postpartum after a big score, be it number one record, you won Grammys.
Yeah.
There's always that, me, I have, when I crossed over X amount of money, $100 million, it was like, it's like a little bit of like, oh shit, I'm still fucking pale and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still like, or whatever it is,
Well, it's the fallacy that some external thing like that is going to make you a different soul.
We know that that's true. We know it's true that it's an inside job. It's like something that, I'm in, recovery from alcoholism and addiction. And so we deal with that a lot. I deal with that kind of like self-hatred, and I don't know how we got into this, but some days I'm great. It's like, I love my kids. I love my life. I'm really happy I did this. And then there are other times when it's just like, I'm not enough. I'm really a failure. I'm a fraud.
Is that only just when you let yourself compare to what, like you see somebody else made this deal or they did this.
Oh God.
It's all comparison, right?
Yeah. When I see like fucking Elon Musk, I say, why couldn't I do that? That kind of shit. No, it's true. It's true. Comparison. Kierkegaard said, all depression stems from comparison.
Yeah.
And that's true. I mean, that's certainly true. I mean,
how much in your industry is, again, it's almost like a ratio thing. How much, when it comes to you versus, because you have competitors,
sure.
Right? When you look at the other brand owners, CEOs, people that you compete with in the marketplace, how much of it is a healthy competition for you? Like that's just inspiring me to kick more ass. And how much of it is, I want to fuck that guy? Like,
I hate my competition. Can I just say that I don't like my competition?
Okay.
I don't like them. I'd like to, I'm just very competitive. Every once in a while you get friendly with someone, and I don't like it because it takes the edge off.
Yeah.
I mean, like Vince Camuto, I'm sure you've heard that name. He was like a god in the shoe business. So like I couldn't hate him. He was just like, he was just this guy, and then, but I want to beat his brains in, Unfortunately, he passed away, so I don't have that problem anymore. And growing up, in the shoe business, Kenneth Cole was one of my heroes.
Of course.
And then I kind of like got bigger than him. You know what I mean? And that's a different thing because I looked up to him so much,
But when you're coming up together, when even if the Heat started prior to you, but you're like people that are around the same age as you, that are like on the ascent. It's gotta be a little.
Oh God, yes.
It's fuel.
I like to talk trash.
Yeah.
Oh yes. That's what it's. I'm a competitive guy, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never been one to. I don't even like to be friends with them. It takes the edge off. It's like I just want to kick the shit out of them. It's the way it is.
But and even still, no matter how much you've achieved.
Did you feel that way about Lionel Richie?
Well, he was sort of a mentor to me, so I know. But there were guys who I was competing with for slots on the chart, and sometimes and sometimes I would get that. I'd get to number one over their record or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
There was definitely a sense of like, there was a little bit of a, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. But if you keep it in perspective, you keep it in perspective. At the end of the day, I guess we're all human beings. We're all. I mean, I don't mean to. I kind of feel that way about the world, frankly. I'm not down with all the anti-China rhetoric. I'm not with. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I kind of like. I have this feeling that everybody, all the countries should get along. Like we should all do business together, and we're all human beings. I never got, I mean, I was of one thought when I was younger, but as an older man, it doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like the struggle could be so much easier if we, we're working together. I mean, I don't know what happened with the virus and all of that, but
there's also a huge difference between the Chinese government and the Chinese people.
Yes, I know that, but there seems to be, just this tribalism, I guess you would call it, and I just think it's unhealthy. I just want to say that.
Does that opinion come from you? You deal with people all over the world, with businesses and.
I deal all over the world, and I have, and I deal with people from a lot of countries, and they're aghast. They're all, every country. I mean, they're great, and they're just trying to every guy I know, whether they're from Lebanon or China or Sweden, everybody's wife is bugging them.
Yeah.
And, it's like, we're all the same, and we're just trying to do good and whatever it is. And I don't think that's a healthy, I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about it.
I hear you.
I'd like to sell my shoes in Iran.
Yeah.
Like I want to sell girls in Iran.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want them to wear Steve Madden, and I want them to wear them. I mean, I have a greatest business in Israel. I go to Israel. It's so great. And, I'm so happy, we sell shoes all over now. It's great.
Making beautiful things that people enjoy. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Nothing to do with politics. Has nothing to do with
nothing. I mean, we sell in Saudi Arabia is one of my best countries.
Yeah.
And they wear these things, man. You can't. Have you ever performed in Saudi Arabia?
No. But I can relate to what you're saying so much, because when I have performed, look, some of the greatest audiences I ever played to in my life were in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah. And Sri Lanka and
wow. Yeah.
And Vietnam. And
wow.
And it's like you if you are if you're present and you're listening to what's going on in the world, and you're up on, and when I say news, there's so much agenda attached to every news story now. But if you sort of dig through it so that you have a clear, at least a general understanding of main topics of the day, it's going to probably color you a little bit about this country or whatever. And then for me as a performer, to see the joy of people singing stuff I made up in my head, singing it to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's no fucking passports. There's no borders. It's just, we're just people enjoying music together,
Yeah, that's great. That's a wonderful feeling.
We have, you and I, even though we're, worlds apart in businesses, we share that, and we're lucky to understand that distinction. Most people don't.
Yes. Yeah. The girls, and I finally hit me. I went to the Gulf states, the tip of the Arabian Peninsula, like it's Qatar and Abu Dhabi and UAE. And they're wearing this stuff, man, but they're loving my shoes. Everybody's wearing this shit.
You were a rock star there, man.
Man, it was crazy. And the people were so nice, but it's a different thing, but what the hell? I mean, I just think that we're better off.
Yeah.
It's just like this, all this stuff. I mean,
we were talking about the competition thing a minute ago, and I didn't want to forget to ask you this, because I'm not aware if you have, but one of the things that switched for me in terms of the competition and the I'm going to beat your ass out of this and all that.
Yeah.
At a certain point, maybe 10, 12 years, well, even before that, I started working with these people who were my competitors on the chart. I was writing songs with them or for them. I was producing
Yeah.
their songs too.
Yeah.
Do all this stuff and really be thrilled when, you know, whoever, Kenny Loggins, who, you know, who started way before me, but I'm a huge fan of Kenny's, and we've been friends for a long time. But there was a time in the late 80s where we were competing on the charts a little bit. And then flash forward to a few years later, and I'm writing songs with him for his record. And, and I'm so excited to see it do well.
That's great.
Have you entertained that idea of sort of like bringing, like sort of like becoming a mentor or bringing up another company through your expertise so that you are all of a sudden, instead of competing with them, you're sort of like the wind
Well,
to their wings?
you know, I'm getting into a position, you know, where I could work with some young fellas, you know, and make investments in their company. So in that sense, yeah, that would be cool. We do it now with a company called Greats. There's a young cat who internet direct. And so, yes, I understand what you mean. And it's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
It is a nice place to be.
Because you could be sort of like the father figure at this point. You know?
Yes. Yes. Or the older brother.
Yeah. Okay.
The older. Don't get it twisted. Don't get that twisted, son.
Dude, I'm the same way. I'm 56, and people are like, whenever I get this sort of older guy dad thing, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah. So are you working with any of the you know, the young ones now? Are they looking to you?
No, but there's something that just sort of came on my radar in the last couple of days. And there's always some sort of thing in the offering that might have. You know, I've had a fun time over the last 20 years or so being a part, even sometimes a small part, but being a part of the launch of someone's career. And
that's great.
You know, like I wrote and produced Josh Groban's first hit. And watching this 20-year-old kid with the opera voice all of a sudden become a pop star was, you know, it was cool. It was very exciting.
Yeah, that's great.
I know.
So I don't know what happens, you know, but it could be because so many companies are in trouble that I will take a, you know, sort of an investor role in a lot of up and coming businesses.
Yeah, because
that could happen.
Diversify your interests simply because of the nature of the global economy going through the floor.
The problem is I'm a very tactile, you know, guy. I'm very sort of hands-on, and so I'm not some like an advisor. I'm so good at that because although I'm a great second guesser, but you know, I need to see it and, you know, kind of get in there. And
when you started, did you draw shit out?
I used to draw on lasts. You know, we did everything, picking leather, you know, watching it be stitched.
When's the last time you, in the middle of the night or in the middle of the afternoon or having your coffee in the morning, whatever, gone, fuck, and just grabbed something and like.
Well, I don't drew it. I have visions of it, and I tell people how to make it. It happens. Usually they're terrible. And you know, I have a whole bunch of youngsters working for me now.
You're listening to them.
You know what? You know, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you may have this. You know, I don't know if something at this point is self-indulgent or really cool. You know, I think it's cool, but I don't know if it's just like something that, you know, just something I dig and it's very sort of narrow. Do you know what I mean? I know you know what I mean.
Sure.
And that's a danger at this age.
You bounce shit off your kids?
I do. I do. My daughter is into fashion, and she's you know, she's really into TikTok.
Yeah.
It's really crazy, but it's really cool. I mean, it's actually, you know, it's really people dancing and telling jokes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's actually, I like it. And, but I have young people that I work with that are, you know, out there more and,
Right.
you know, taking ecstasy and going to clubs, which I'm
Right.
not doing it.
Right.
You know, so it's hard to replace that, you know.
I would imagine that based upon everything that you've experienced, especially, you know, being in prison for what, 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that you were released how many years ago?
16 years ago.
Not that long ago. I mean, a while ago.
15, 16 years ago. Yeah.
Crazy long ago.
Yeah.
Does that, trying to think of the way to ask this. Does that experience in some way permeate your consciousness every day? Or do you
Well, it's certain. Well, I dream about it a lot.
Yeah, I was curious.
And it's sort of like now a little bit, you know, there's lack of freedom right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get the virus, you know.
Yep.
So, so there's a little bit of that. Of course, it's nothing like prison at all. I mean, prison is, you are locked up with no food and no nothing, you know, it's bad. Here I have a lot of food, great TV and music, but you can't move around, you know, it's the same thing. So you have to sort of like plug into like an internal entertainment system, you know.
Right. But I guess
which I've done.
I can't imagine. For me, I can't imagine having been through that and then being out and being back into, not only coming back into quotes normal life, but succeeding even more than you did prior, to have had an incredible post-prison life, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine it not resonating on such a constant basis in terms of gratitude and relief. Or do you just sort of get back to living and like it's not really a thing that's all, I mean, I'm sure you have moments and these will remind you, but I'm curious if you feel like you sort of carry this with you.
You carry it with you. You never forget it.
Yeah.
You know, although, you know, look, human beings take things for granted. You know that. We all do. It's just like a characteristic of our species, you know. It's amazing. But it's a scar, you know, it's a scar, an internal pain that you have, being deprived of your freedom. I don't mean to imply that I didn't deserve. That's not what I'm saying. It's just the fact of being incarcerated is so awful. It's just the most awful thing. And you know, it's like dying, you know. You know, it's like dying. It's like being heartbroken every day, you know. It's actually the living part is not so terrible. You know, you get in a routine, you do your little workout,
Right.
you're reading, you know, you can survive. Human beings have been, you know, but it's like being outside of life that's moving. It's like a death, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to have visits. They'd come to visit me, my friends and stuff. And it was like, they'd go back and I'd go back to my little cubby, you know? And it was just so heartbreaking, you know?
Did you like those visits or did you come to?
Yeah, they were good. I needed them, you know, they were good.
Yeah.
But they were heartbreaking when I would be on the walk back to my room, you know, on the walk back. They would be off to the, you know, to the steak dinner or whatever it was, you know, and it was awful.
You're staying fit in the quarantine.
I'm staying fit. I got some gym stuff. I try to work out, though it's every day I put it off. I say I'm going to do it at 3, and it ends up like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I
Right.
keep putting it off.
Yeah.
And you got to keep moving. You got to keep active.
Well,
It's a
now when you
struggle. It's actually a struggle.
yes, but it's also, you know, just in terms of the virus itself, it's imperative that we stay as healthy as we can, and that, you know, the people who are, you know, over 50, over 60.
Yeah, I'm over 60. I'm
More
62.
fit. Okay, well then the more
Yeah.
fit you are, the more
Yeah.
the better you are in every
Yeah.
way, especially when it comes to dealing with the virus.
Yeah, it's really scary. It's really scary. You're in LA?
Yeah.
It's a little better out there, but
Well, we're
I'm at the,
so it's like we get to, you know, we're right on the beach, so we you know, that's been a lifesaver for us. It's just a sand,
yeah,
you know, at least
yeah, that's great.
on the beach, and there's hardly anybody out there, and
Yeah, that's good.
very fortunate.
That's good.
Aside from sort of coming back and kicking ass in your business again, what are your I can't wait things when things start to resume to normal?
I really love going to supermarkets. That's the thing. I mean, we could go to supermarkets, but it's like, oh my God, it's like fraught with anxiety and terror.
Exactly.
You know?
I'm going to pass on the anxiety and terror. Thanks.
It is. You go in, I've gone twice, you know, but it's just awful. Like, it's great to touch, and you got gloves on, and it's just awful.
You got to wash it, and you're worried about which part did I touch, and
yeah, no, it's terrible. And I love going to supermarkets, and I I miss going to the gym. I like going to the gym. I don't like working out at home. I like going to a gym, like putting on my music and, you know, working out. I love that. I don't know when I'll ever go back to a gym.
yeah.
I don't see it in the next year. I mean, it seems to me it seems so dangerous.
Have you seen any pictures of, like, there are some Asian countries who are you know, reopening and have been reopening, and like in a gym, they have these plexiglass or plastic dividers between, you know, machines and stuff like that. I think that over the next year and a half, what we're going to see is going to look like the weirdest fucking science fiction movie.
Yeah.
It's going to become the new normal. It's going to become, I can't really fathom. Daisy and I were talking about this last night, and she was saying, what do you think when you do start to go back and do concerts again? What do you think it's going to look like? Like, is it going to be a much smaller amount of people in, like, single file? Like, and to me, look, on one hand, I just want everything I want things to slowly and safely get back to normal. But there's also a part of me that feels like, wow, what a fucking drag. Like, that doesn't resemble what I know to be my life, is like people wearing masks and divided.
Yeah.
The only way to do it, it's either that or nothing, you know?
Yeah. I can't wait to, I play a lot of golf, actually. That's actually one of the few things that you kind of can do now. But I just miss being out, man. Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, I'm excited about your book, and I didn't know about the documentary about you on Netflix until this morning, because I'm a horrible researcher.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
you
I can't wait to watch it. Daisy and I are going to crank it up tonight and watch it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, you'll probably be bored. But it's been an interesting journey. It has. Okay. I wish I could make the documentary again, you know?
Really?
Well, yeah. I'm in a different space now, and kind of different. I was still, you know, it was a bit of like, I don't want to jinx everything kind of a thing, you know. Right. But it's a little bit different now.
It's difficult to become comfortable with massive success, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to even, and you know what's really hard? It's hard to talk about it because you sound like an asshole. And, you know, I'm really bummed out about my success. It's hard to talk about that shit with people.
I don't know that it's about being bummed out about it, but I think that being comfortable with it. And
Oh, it's scary, man. It can be very scary.
but it's the fear of it going away. And that's not a fun thing to talk about because it makes you sound insecure and weak. But the truth is that success, to any degree really, is its own drug. Right?
Yeah. Yes. And there's a poem by Rudyard Kipling. And I don't know if it's exactly this, but I was always struck. It's called If. And he says if you can judge those twin imposters, success and failure, you know, and I love that idea that they're imposters, success and failure, you know, and if you cannot get too big of a head or get too down, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've enjoyed talking to you, dude. And
all right, man.
I appreciate the time and good luck with the book.
So nice to meet you. Say hello to your wife.
I will, and I hope I hope one of these days we meet for real.
Okay, cool.
Stay safe, healthy, man. Best to your family.
All right, man.
Amen.
Ciao.